Hello, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. This is going to be the first of a three-part series on Hermann Hesse's Steppenwolf, which was published in 1927, which is one of the books which absolutely most changed my life. I'm going to be filming all these videos on the 30th of October 2022, so I can have them, scheduled and ready to go, so I won't have to take too much time out of my NaNoWriMo writing month next month for making videos. And so anyway, let's just get down with it. Now, these are all based on blog posts, which are set to go live in November, basically, like the general plot overview, my personal relationship with the novel, and behind the scenes, like background, like reception, legacy, things like that. So let's get down with it. An unnamed narrator has found the writings of a former boarder in his aunt's house, where he also lives in an also unnamed town. He then goes on to describe how several years ago, this man named Harry Haller, who was almost 50, came to stay with them and took the furnished bedroom and sitting room in the attic. Harry stayed for 9 or 10 months and brought many books with him. Though their bedrooms are right next door, and they often met on the stairs, it took them a while to become properly acquainted on account of Harry's reclusiveness and general introversion. He's basically spending pretty much all of his time in his room reading and writing and researching, and when he goes out, he's kind of solitary, doesn't really talk much with the other people in the boarding house. After the opening section, narrated by this unnamed young man, we get to Harry's records with the title For Madmen Only. This book has no chapters and very few section breaks. I'm pretty sure that's pretty uncommon for Hesse's books. It's been a while since I've been rereading them, but I do seem to remember pretty much all of his other books did have chapters. A few years away from his 50th birthday, Harry Haller's life isn't exactly going the way he hoped it would. His wife Erika divorced him some years back. He's suffering with gout. He frequently complains about it in the opening sections. It's kind of funny. I know obviously it's not funny if you're really suffering with physical ailments or gouts, but just the way he talks about it, it's kind of darkly humorous, and he feels totally disconnected from bourgeois society, despite his emotional attachment to surface things like happy families and well-maintained homes with araucaria flowers. He has no long-term career or even job, though he was very active in the academic world for a long time, according to what we know in the novel, and he's overwhelmed with depression and suicidal thoughts, which very closely mirrored his creator Hermann Hesse's state of mind around the time he was writing the book as well. Harry's life changes when he goes out for a glass of wine at the Steel Helmet Tavern on a rainy night and instead discovers a previously unnoticed doorway with a Gothic arch in the middle of an old stone wall he loves while he's on the way to the tavern. Obviously, he's not intending to skip the tavern. He's just happens to notice this while he's walking there. Even more surprisingly, there's an electric sign on the door, blinking the message, Magic Theater. Entrance not for everybody, for madmen only. After Harry has a drink at the tavern, he goes back to the old stone wall in the hopes of seeing that tempting, mysterious sign again. However, the door, archway, and sign have vanished. Harry encounters a man carrying a signboard on a pole, and in front of him an open tray held up by straps like the kind you would find a peddler carrying or someone at a fair. When Harry asks him to stop so he can read the sign, it bears the message, Anarchist Evening Entertainment, Magic Theater, entrance not for everybody. Harry asks him what, where, and when this magic theater is, and the stranger reiterates that it's not for everybody. However, he does give Harry a booklet on cheap paper, the type found at fairs, and vanishes before Harry can pay him. When Harry gets home, he discovers this is no ordinary carnival poppycock, for example, how to lose 20 pounds in a month, or your future if you were a Capricorn or something like that. But it's a serious treatise that describes his own life, competing wolf and human natures, and gloomy future outlook perfectly. It's just so absolutely uncanny. He's just reading about himself to a T. He doesn't just see himself in this in an abstract way. It actually uses his own name, and this is what it's called, Treatise on the Steppenwolf. Not for everybody. Harry agrees with the eerie booklet that he ought to kill himself, though he doesn't want to wait till his 50th birthday as it prescribes. There are still 2 years to go, and he's awash in despair, disconnection from everything and everyone he used to love, and the aches and pains of middle age, particularly the gout. He makes a date with his razor for the near future, and he has in the past, thought about overdosing on various drugs like laudanum and opium and poison and things like that. He just realizes, oh, the razor would be quick and more to the point. A day after Harry tries again to find the mysterious door and sign, he runs across a professor whom he used to be good friends with. The professor invites him over for dinner, and Harry agrees against his own reservations. Harry is set off by a ridiculous framed engraving of his idol Goethe, styled as a conceited old man with a blank expression. The evening gets worse when the professor lambasts a recent anti-war editorial in the newspaper, which, unbeknownst to his host, was written by Harry himself. And now the name Haller did appear alongside this editorial, but the host doesn't realize like he's talking to one and the same who wrote this, and Harry like absolutely has these like, views on the Kaiser and like being anti-war and like pacifist and all like good things like that. Finally, Harry snaps and rips into the ridiculous picture of Goethe, which is particularly dear to the professor's wife, and that just like personally offends her, as well as like, oh, I collected this and I liked it. It's just like, oh, this is so dear to my heart. How dare you insult me, and how you dare you insult my wife. And storms out of the house, visions of the razor dancing through his head. Harry ends up in a tavern called the Black Eagle, where he meets a woman who takes him to task for not knowing how to dance and being so melodramatic. And she also says Harry is kind of a babyish name. Like, she's basically has his number, and she's not letting him get away with like feeling sorry for himself or like being melodramatic or just like whining and self-pity and like me, like the whole world is against me, only I have this like a conceited, like super duper intellectual view of the world. She like totally knows how to like get through to him. Though she's giving him quite the tongue lashing, Harry nevertheless dreads her leaving, since then he'll have to go home and kill himself. And he does like basically tell her this, like, oh, I'm afraid you can't leave, I can't go home, something horrible will happen. And she like basically figures out he's planning to kill himself, and she's basically, trying to talk him down off of that wall and get away from this like horrible suicidal ideation. While she's dancing with someone else, Harry falls asleep and has a surrealistic dream about Goethe, who also takes him to tasks for being so serious. Since Harry is still terrified of going home and facing the razor, his anonymous new friend arranges for him to lodge upstairs overnight. Before he falls asleep again, he realizes he has something to live for after all, and his hopelessness starts fading. And it's also pointed out in the book that his new friend is using the familiar form of you do with him, and he's still using Z with her, and like he apparently hasn't even picked up on this, and he's like continued using the formal form while she's using the informal form. And this is something I bookmarked in the book about like how he feels his new life is beginning. Then I lay down on the bed in my clothes, and leaving the light on, gave myself up to my reflections. So I had settled accounts with Goethe. It was splendid that he had come to me in a dream, and this wonderful girl, if only I had known her name. All of a sudden there was a human being, a living human being, to shatter the death that had come down over me like a glass case, and to put out a hand to me, a good and beautiful and warm hand. All of a sudden there were things that concerned me again, which I could think of with joy and eagerness. All of a sudden a door was thrown open through which life came in. Perhaps I could live once more, and once more be a human being. My soul that had fallen asleep in the cold, and nearly frozen, breathed once more, and sleepily spread its weak and tiny wings. Goethe had been with me. A girl had bidden me eat and drink and sleep, and had shown me friendship, and had laughed at me, and had called me a silly little boy. And this wonderful friend had talked to me of the saints, and shown me that even when I had outdone myself in absurdity, I was not alone. I was not an incomprehensible and ailing exception. There were people akin to me. I was understood. Should I see her again? Yes, for certain. She could be relied upon. A promise is a promise. The next time he meets this woman, he guesses her name is Hermina, since she seems so much like the female version of his old friend Hermann. Over the ensuing months, Hermina teaches him to dance, introduces him to jazz music, takes him to buy a gramophone, and has many deep conversations with him. And when they go gramophone shopping, and by the way, if you are kind of like a young person who's not familiar with the word, a gramophone is a record player, and they go like bargain shopping for it, like looking for the best price, the best model, like technical specifications, things like that, and they end up like getting the one they saw first that Harry liked the most anyway. During this time, Harry also becomes friends with a jazz musician named Pablo, and lovers with a beautiful young woman named Maria, and they're all pre-existing friends with Hermina as well. All three of his new friends are instrumental in his restoration to normalcy and hope. And then comes the grand finale of Harry's initiation into his new life. A masked ball followed by the magic theater. Which rooms will he choose to go into? And what sorts of lessons and esoteric experiences will he have there? And will he pass this test? And I marked out the names of the different rooms he's in. These are just like so like incredibly like interesting. I would love to go to the Magic Theater myself. And if you don't already know my blog and my old Angel Fire website back in the day, the name is Welcome to My Magic Theater, although magic is spelled like with a CK at the end, like as a nod to esoteric magic, and it obviously comes right from this book. So the different rooms. All girls are yours. 1 quarter in the slot. Jolly hunting. great hunt in automobiles. Mutabor, transformation into any animal or plant you please. Kama Sutram, instruction in the Indian arts of love. Course for beginners, 42 different methods and practices. Delightful suicide, you laugh yourself to bits. Do you want to be all spirit? Wisdom of the East. Downfall of the West, moderate prices, never surpassed. Compendium of art, transformation from time into space, by means of music. Laughing tears, cabinet of humor. Solitude made easy, complete substitution for all forms of sociability. Marvelous taming of the Steppenwolf, how one kills for love. Harry's execution, and just like, I wish he had gone into all these different rooms because it's just so absolutely fascinating. I would absolutely love to go into magic theater like this, and I particularly love, like paranormal and unexplained phenomenon, like, mysticism and just basically things like that. And because I am, like guided by the principles of skeptical inquiry in many ways, I absolutely welcome, like scientific inquiry into these things, like to prove maybe they're like not like such bunkum after all. For many years, for example, many people dismissed things like lucid dreaming as total pseudoscience and woo, but now we know it absolutely does like happen. So this is because of scientific research. Thank you very much for listening. Please remember to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and most importantly, comment. I really love seeing comments from you guys, and I do have a whole playlist about Hermann Hesse if you're interested in checking out any of my past videos or just like keeping up with this. And I will see you guys again very soon. Thanks. Bye.